I'm Batman.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me! Who's got you?
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
I'm a doctor. But probably not the one you expect.
I'm Captain Kirk.
Welcome, everyone, to the Battlestar Galactica panel from Pensacon 2019, moderated by Mary McDonnell, one of the cast members of Battlestar Galactica. The cast talks about their time and experience in filming this series and much, much more. Please enjoy, and also please leave a like on this video.
Yeah, that's much better. Good morning! My name is Julio Diaz. I'm here to introduce the moderator for our panel and one of the stars of the show that we're all here very excited about. These days, reboots and reimaginings are very common, but at one time it was very uncommon for a science fiction series that maybe wasn't originally a big hit to come back. So this is the show that kind of set that mold that we're now seeing so much of. I'm very happy to introduce our moderator and one of the stars of the show. She is a two-time Academy Award and Golden Globe nominee for her roles in Dances with Wolves and Passion Fish. She's also a two-time Emmy nominee. She was nominated for ER and for her role in The Closer, which ended up getting spun off into the lead role in the series that just ended, Major Crimes. You've also seen her in films like Independence Day, Speakers, Margin Call, and Donnie Darko. Please welcome President Laura Roslin, Mary McDonnell!
First of all, I feel so blessed that we're in this extraordinary venue. You guys crush it in Pensacola. I'm kidding, everybody is so nice, so gracious. I guess it's that Southern hospitality. But it really is true. We've all been commenting on how much we love your town and how much we love the people who work at Pensacon. Everything's been really lovely and warm-hearted. We're very, very grateful for it. Thank you for this wonderful hello. Now, the people I'm about to bring out on this stage, I know pretty well. I could say anything I want. But I know that they're back there watching this on a monitor, so don't dare. I have to admit, I'm a little, I wouldn't exactly call it nervous, I'm a little trepidatious because I have no idea what they're going to pull, and I expect something. But what I do know about each and every one of these people is they are stellar human beings. I don't really know how Ron Moore and the gang, Michael Reimer, David Icke, I don't really know how they intuitively understood how to cast this show. Ooh, asylum. I fracking knew it. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, I knew that if I said, I'm going to moderate this, because I really want to do this, that they would do something. Oh well, Laura Roslin, go back. This is Mary. No, not Laura. Stop. I don't have an airlock. It's okay. All right. So anyway, what I was trying to say before I was rudely interrupted by some extraterrestrial. I don't know what's going on here, but we'll try and ignore it. Okay. These people are outstanding human beings, and they have a great relationship to people at large. Each and every one of them brings to the work a commitment to humanity, They are all incredibly intelligent. Forget about how beautiful this cast is. I mean, I don't know, we were all in love with each other, men, women, it didn't matter. I was honored to work with them, and I'm still honored to know them. I'm going to bring them out one at a time. The first human being I'm bringing onto the stage, and I'm going to have him come out and go to the last chair so that all of our youngers can be surrounded by the two elders. You adore this man, he's one of your faves. Michael Hogan. He also plays Saul Ty, but I don't think I have to tell you that. Okay, the next actor coming on the stage is a beautiful, absolutely beautiful Canadian actress that was very gracious and welcomed all of us to her hometown. She is the remarkable Leah Combs. Leah. Okay, this next dude, he's really tall. He's very handsome. And he brought a certain, as well, humanity to this entire event. Our friend, Tama Penacon. This next woman is also very tall. You know who I'm talking about. She played many roles on Battlestar. I love her to death, Tricia Helfer. I just want to comment, we didn't plan these outfits. The navy blue frill, the whole thing. See, I mean, this is why I'm saying it was really good casting. We dressed ourselves. No, we did not. I would never have chosen to be in one suit for 4 seasons. Okay. Our next actor is also very tall and handsome, and he is a wonderful guy. And he came into Battlestar with a kind of wonderful innocence that turned into a tremendous strength. Michael Trucco. And last but not least, you know the expression they say, keep your enemies close? Okay, so here's my chair. And guess who's sitting in this one? None other than our beloved James Callis. All right, guys. Now, I want to start with Michael Hogan. I do. Michael, Colonel Ty went into an incredible amount of, one would say, sort of really deep, painful, and incredibly dramatic storylines. And I want to ask you, when you were cast as Colonel Ty, did you understand that you were going to have that much of a journey? Did you really get who he was going to be, or did you just, as you do, brilliantly bring yourself to whatever was on the page? And I know you didn't know you were going to be a Cylon, but...
I did not know that, that's for sure.
No, for sure. But he of going through such a journey, I remember looking at when we came back from New Caprica, after we'd been the occupied people, and you came back onto the Battlestar, and you had such damage in your heart. You had just killed your wife, you lost your eye, you had successfully become part of an insurgency, which I think changes who humans are. And you had an energy around you when you said hello to a Gama that had such damage in it. And I just wonder, like, where do you start, or does it evolve for you? Did you know anything about how big this role would be? And I don't mean big in terms of you had to be at work every morning. I mean big in terms of, you know, emotional grounding. Did you understand that?
No. I almost didn't audition for Battlestar Galactica. I'm another military man. I've been acting for something like 37 years before Battlestar came along, so I knew what was going on. And it was a reimagining of Battlestar Galactica. I had nothing against the show. Maybe I'd seen it as I walked through the living room or something. But then I heard, I'm from Canada. My wife and I do a lot of independent films. And we watched one day, and it was called Angel Baby, and I was watching this, and we think, wow, who did this? It's amazing. And at the end, the credits is written, directed, and produced by a man named Michael Reimer. I thought, wow, that's too much. And then I forgot about it, and then I got a call to audition for this Battlestar Galactica. And I thought, I don't think I'm going to go in for it, but then Michael Reimer is directing. I wonder if that's the same guy who did Angel Baby. And then I heard Edward James Olmos is playing Adama. Oh, there is something to this. And so I did go in to audition. And of course, Michael Reimer, I hadn't met him before. He is a director who loves working with actors. He loves what he does. And so as an actor, when you audition for someone like this with material like we had for Battlestar Galactica in the audition, you just spend half an hour or however long you are with the director, having a great time, and whether you get the role, good, and if not, there you are. They've had something, you've had something. And then I guess...
Did you just read the pilot beforehand?
I hadn't read it.
You hadn't read any of it? Okay.
No,
wow.
no. They don't send,
wow.
Especially at the time, they don't send whole scripts. Now they even send less than that these days. But no, I just had the sides.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so anyways, I did. We had fun doing it, and then we got a call back, and in the audition, to your question, where I watch it because I'll just go on because it's been so long since we did Battlestar, and then you go, oh, But anyways, they didn't know. He said, okay, there is a drinking problem. Ty is an alcoholic. And the fact that he is at the end of his career, they are going to take the show and turn it into a training ship. That's all the information that he gave me that I had to work with there. But I did get called back, and a little sidelight is when I came into the room, Ryder said, Helgen, I don't hear it, I'm Australian, but the network has a problem with your accent, you can get rid of it. And I said, there's no Canadians in space, man? And he said, of course I'm an actor, so I got rid of it, and the journey began. We were all involved in the meetings. Once we started and we were on board, it was like nothing I've ever done. We had a lot of meetings with Ron and Eddie and Mary, and so I kind of knew, wow, I'm in for quite the journey, because everybody was involved in those meetings and talks and get-togethers. So, and they wrote as we went along, as they did for all of us.
Well, I'm kind of curious about it, because when I met with them, I knew, for example, when I first met with them, that Laura Roslin was going to die in the last episode when they made it to Earth. Because basically I said, well, how is this going to be a 2-episode show? I mean, she has cancer. What are we doing here? And I thought I better find out. So I said, well, I only have one question. I said, when does she die? And Ron said, she dies last episode when they find Earth. No, I'm not kidding you. That was at breakfast.
When did they tell you that?
At breakfast in Westwood, after they talked to me about doing the role, I said, well, I'd like to meet you first.
I've never heard that before. It's stunning.
Whoa, wow. I'll tell you some more stories. You guys can just leave. Leah. Thank you, Michael. You do a remarkable job in that show, and I say you do because it is living it and breathing, and new people are coming to Battlestar all the time. And I encourage all of you to get your millennial children watching this show. It's a very important show for millennials. They could use every second of it. So if you have to bribe them and you have to promise them something, I'm all for bribery as a parent. Get them watching the show. Leah, when you entered Battlestar, did you know about this big show coming to your hometown that was going to invade, everything? Did you know about it?
I did, because Paul Campbell and I were friends for years before Battlestar existed. So we were in the same agency, and he was so excited when he booked it.
And then what happened?
I'm going to be very honest. First of all, I need to do a little caveat. I chipped off my front tooth right before I got on the airplane to come here, and my mouth is being held together by an Invisalign, so I have a lisp. Awesome timing, and I spit a lot.
That's right, they're far enough away.
So I'm going to be brutally honest. The honest story is that Paul was really excited to be on Battlestar Galactica, and the rest of us at the agency went, oh God, you booked a show called Battlestar Galactica? Yeah. Oh man, and behind his back we were like, oh, he's going to be stuck on this show for the rest of his life, and we were really worried for him. Yeah. Legit, I was worried for him, and then I ran into him I didn't want to ask him, like, so Paul? And he gushed and gushed. I'm working with Mary McDonnell. Every scene is like an acting class. I'm having the time of my, he was, felt like he had won the lottery, and we all just went, oh, good. And then when I booked the role of Racetrack, and my very first day of work, spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen the show, is when Boomer shoots Donna in the face, was my very first scene.
Wow, that's fun.
And we spent the entire day shooting that scene, if I recall correctly. And I kept looking at Paul going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. He's like, I told you. This is incredible, I told you.
Hey, let me ask you, as you developed Racetrack, and you stepped into, you're suddenly in this world where there was no gender problem. Women did whatever women wanted to do, basically. And the balance of gender and power was a little bit, I would call it a little bit more natural to what I think the human race needs. But did you notice that immediately as an actress? Did you feel it? Did it seem different to you than the other things that you've been in?
I noticed it immediately when we were all calling each other sir. And there were men and women fist fighting and nobody batting an eye, and it was so empowering and so exciting. And I applaud Ron Moore for doing that. Remember after Battlestar Galactica ended, I auditioned for, I think it was Blood and Chrome, to be a Damas Keg. And I walked into the auditioning room, and it was a 50-50 split between male actors and female actors going out for the same role. And I thought, oh, you're in a Ron Moore show when? Because that's the only time that happens.
And obviously he continues this with Outlander. I mean, she's a remarkable character, right? Ron Moore's looking. Very lucky to have you. How how would you present Battlestar as you know it to younger women? I'm really concerned with this and men. I think the show has the opportunity here to become very important for all kinds of young people, particularly in this country, given the state of affairs. But how would you, as a woman, a very experienced woman, a mother now, so many things have happened since you walked into that meeting, what would you tell people to get them to watch this show?
I think the show is more relevant now, perhaps, than it even was then. And I think that it stands as kind of a beacon as what TV should be. And I think, I don't know, I think it's so important for, like you said, for young people to be watching, but I just want to ram it down the throats of every network executive and every director and every, you know?
Galatica. Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And I agree. And I think we need to start a campaign to get this thing going again, because it's, right? It absolutely needs to be watched. Yeah.
I think we should just reboot it again. I think that we should
well, hello.
And do it again.
Hello, now wait a minute. I've been thinking about that. So is Michael. So Michael, when do you think, what time period, like, do you want to keep going from where we left off? Because then I have to
don't,
produce
because
it.
I'm dead.
Yeah,
You're dead.
It's not fair.
The dead people can come back as spirits, right?
I don't know, I'm not going to be in a
Or
dream
racetrack.
again.
Racetrack has a sister, identical. So is Laura Roslin.
Laura Roslin has a sister. No, my sister's died.
Oh, wait, Cameron Bass.
Yeah, no, they died in a car crash before they... Anyway. Michael, what is your idea?
Oh, I have to.
You don't, you just think...
No.
Because...
See, that's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
Where, when, what, is it an alternate reality, is it a parallel universe, do we take it as a prequel, it's a sequel? I still think that, look, we're in an age of television right now, and the only things that are selling and making money are rehashed ideas.
Right.
And they're remaking everything, and I've never seen a series that's more rife right now for a remake than ours.
Yeah.
And the amount, like you said, the amount of audience and fandom that has grown years after we were on the air. I mean, when we were on the air on Sci-Fi Network on a Saturday night or a Friday night at 10 o'clock, we were getting 1.3 million was a good night.
That's right.
And now, you know, in the binge watching, we kind of ushered in that era of binge watching television. We were just 5 or 6 years ahead of our time.
Yeah.
You know, we put this show in the pop culture now, in the state of entertainment now, and we would have so much more resonance. So I don't know. That's a good question. I've talked to Tom
I'm
about
going to
this.
share an idea that our beloved Mina Sharp had. Because I think Mina Sharp and Stephanie, Mina and Stephanie get us all here. And they bring us to these places. So they're wonderful women. They're really bright. And Mina had a thought about, what if we went back in and wrote out that year, from the beginning of that year on New Caprica, that we only had memories of during the boxing episode. And the reason I kind of responded to that is because, first of all, it seems incredibly relevant to where the world is today with refugee problems and what we're all facing, potentially. And it seemed, I don't know, I thought it was a really cool idea. Plus, I would not be dead. And the other thing is, if memory serves right, I was drinking and smoking something. And so, wow, I love that year. Oh my God, the Baltar story would be, anyway, so that's just...
That's a great idea, just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, we won't. Don't even tell us. So, everybody, there will be a non-disclosure agreement at the back of the house, right? Michael Trucco, since we're over here with you,
yes.
I want to ask you about Sam. Did you understand that you were headed into a domestic exploration that was that painful? Did you really know?
No, and it's kind of what Michael Hogan was saying earlier. That question gets asked, do you know what you're getting? I don't think you ever have any idea what you're truly getting into, because the show evolved as it went on, and I think Ron and that team of extraordinary writers wrote, episode to episode and watch these stories evolve. So we never really got a full sense of where we were going. And I certainly didn't have any sense of what Anders' involvement into this lore would have been in my 2 episodes that I was hired for originally.
It's amazing.
I mean, that's it. I came on to be a foil between Starbuck and Apollo, just create that classic, you know, television love triangle. And I was going to be, for lack of a better term, the piece of ass. And then, you know, she had a little roll in the hay, and then she was going to boot me. And Katie and I had this instant rapport, and there was something there that Ron liked. There was clearly something that the audience hated. I mean, hated me. Like, pictured it like horrible. Like, and this is before the days of social media, so I just got filtered in, you know, it's like, people are really, really awful. And Ron's like, oh fuck, this is great. We're gonna keep him around, so yeah.
I got a whole spin-off of it, so I know the value.
You know, exactly. So I had no idea going in. I know that sounds just like a standard answer, but there's really, honestly, I didn't know. And until season 3, when you talked about the resurgence, and then when I realized I was being embedded with these characters and got to work with Hogan in that whole underground sequence.
That was really amazing.
And Aaron Douglas was amazing. And then, yeah, then you do have a sense of import of your character, and then it becomes this incredible responsibility not to fuck it up. Sorry, not to screw it up.
What?
How did she sign that? Anyway,
I think she does it all the time.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Right.
PG-13. So there is a sense that this is bigger, and there's something more was coming for this character, and it scared me.
Well, you know, I think, Michael, that part of the reason you stayed on, yes, you were hated, but you were handsome and hated, that helps. and I don't mean that by any way as a diminishment. I mean it as a really compelling idea. And also what I found compelling was there was something in your energy that allowed you to play the domestic innocence and sincerity of it all that I do think Ron saw in your character.
I hope so. I mean, the idea he was a sports hero or an athlete, and I wanted to find the everydayness, and that you wear the uniform and you put on, you know, that this guy he wasn't a rock star with a gun, and this it was terrifying. It was a scary thing. And in the domestic situation, he was almost a battered husband, at least emotionally. By this crazy ride that was characterized.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at.
And it touched on what Leah was saying. I like that you know, let's flip the gender. Let's see that perspective. Let's see the male in this relationship be vulnerable and confused and a little bit of a doormat. And that was a choice for sure. But I thought there was something great in Katie's strength in the way she played that character. Yeah. I had no choice but to respond to it. So I embraced it.
There are many different responses that any of actors could have taken at any point given their storylines. And I think again and again and again, definitely in all things, I'm looking around, took the high road with their characters. Like, and James is sitting there right now. Good job. Absolutely not. And I'm going to argue with you about that in a second. But I mean, I do think, I'm going to sit here and say that what I experienced watching these guys guys and gals, was an example of actors who understand that the articulation of their characters has to do with being vulnerable to where they are weak. And I don't see that all the time. I really don't. I don't see it, and I don't see it a lot on television. I see storylines and performances that either, you know, dramatize that which is insane and try and make it look cool and attractive, or stay away from that which is truly human and vulnerable. When we are vulnerable and unmasked, when it was clear that Starbuck was just, you know, when she's off sleeping with Jamie and then pulls you out of bed and marries you, that sucks. But you didn't know, but you maintained a hope in you the actor, kept Sam vulnerably innocent. And that's a scary thing for men to to allow in the writing, yay Ron, and in the performance. Tama, I think you as well have some of that. Again, you've got these really strong men, all of you, who came into a show where you were given moments of sheer vulnerability. And I think I don't know if you are conscious of how much you brought. Did you consciously say, I have a great response to social injustice, and that is going to be part of my fuel for this character? Were you cognizant of that? Because you do have that as a person.
I don't know that I was, consciously saying this is my responsibility, but to use Michael's word, the import of the character and the story that we were telling was just obvious. I think it was obvious to most of us, right from the jump. When I, like Michael, I only got the sides. I knew nothing about my character other than the scene that I auditioned for. And you learn everything about Hilo from the scene that I auditioned for with Michael Runner. Whereas the scene in the miniseries where I give up my seat, the guy's fault I'm injured, and I'm thinking that he's going to be more beneficial for mankind. So I didn't So I sacrificed my seat. And you think that's it. The guy's a hero. He's incredibly brave. And I and I've been doing this for a while now. I was a baby when we started this. I was beyond green. But when I read that scene, and again, I was very early in my career, but when I read it, I remember I read it and I was like, oh, I cannot wait to get in the room. And I was at a point too where I was a young actor and I was in a really passionate sort of theater school in Vancouver, and it was all about the work. You do all the work, you do everything, you like the backstory, and you do all the backstory, and you make choices, and you come in prepared. And I read that scene and I was like, I didn't need to do anything. I understood this guy 100%. All I wanted to do was get in the room. And I didn't even run it that much. I just got the lines down with my girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, I don't need to do anything with this. I know it. Like, I literally know this in my heart. And when I got in the room, and I did the same thing with my girlfriend, I didn't know what to do. I assumed I was out. I remember in the casting room, I was sitting off by myself, just very much in my zone, and just trying to stay in place to get in the room. And I saw this guy, this long-haired guy, who looked like he just wanted to get joint or something. He wearing shades, his eyes were very tight. He stopped, and he just literally stopped, and he looked at me for a second. And I looked up at him, and I was like, oh, maybe this is the director. And I was like, hi. And he's like, he smiled at me, and then he went in the room, and sure enough, it was Michael. But, yeah, that's so...
I love the tilted the head. He must have had to go to the chiropractor constantly. He's such a brilliant man, and no matter what you did, he would just go, hi, maybe.
You know what, just briefly to kind of answer your question a little bit more too, what the story ended up being, and the story, the role that my character had to play with Grace's character, the struggle that they were constantly having as a interracial, as a biracial marriage, it is incredible how much it touches me just because of my background and my indigenous mother. And so many times in the storyline, it affected me so much personally. It was just, again, there was time and time again I'd see an emotional scene in the show, and I was like, just get me in there.
So it's great. Yeah. And it's so fun, because last night, we were out. Surprise. Talking about fatherhood.
Yeah.
And you played fatherhood.
Yeah.
And then became mother.
Before I was.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's an excellent point.
Do you ever look back on that as wondering if, did you know, do you reflect on that at all? That he kind of got you ready, in a sense, because Hilo was an amazing father.
Yeah, he really was. I think there's no way that we can't deny how much this show affected us personally. Like, I'm still constantly astounded, you guys, that it's been years since the show was on. The relevance of it, the fact that it's being still spoken about, how important it is now, as you keep talking about, how timely it is to watch it now, how relevant it still is. And he always said that. It was amazing. He said it from early on, too. He said, this show will stand the test of time. And I don't live in LA, so I often don't get to see these guys as much as I like, but they're so dear to me. I cannot explain it. They're literally family. It was such an incredible experience to be a part of something like this. Unfortunately, it's at a really unrealistic precedent. and unfortunately, another thing I noticed, and I've told this before too, but he was like, it's the best thing you're ever going to do. He always said that to us. I'm like, hey, why would you say that to me? Please.
These actors are, they're young and they're ready to go, and they're going to have these long careers, and it's like, you'll never do anything like this.
That's what he said.
I'm telling you, believe me. Oh, James Camus. Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, James. You know, I loved playing Rosalind Baltar. I loved what we had to think about.
Yep.
And I really, really appreciated the depth of focus you put on parts of him that you could agree with, rather than just those outrageously fun and crazy parts of him that come so easily to you as well.
Right.
But what I saw you do was find a way, kind of a talented guy, let's face it. You found a way to go into his, because we had to talk a lot about the politics of it, and you always found a way to understand him before you laid down his ideas or before you did some of his things. And I know that that was different, obviously, than what James might be believing or thinking. And yet, I always felt like you brought a human being, flawed, like we all are, maybe more politically outrageous, to the table. And I know how...
No, I'm not in today's day and age.
No, that's right. He was absolutely the prophet of his career. How many people are laughing?
Sorry.
No. So I just want to know, did you love him right from the start? Did you love him?
To be honest, no. But I was taught this thing, and I don't know if it's true. I did, when I was a student in England, I was part of a play. And the play was called East, by a guy called Stephen Burkoff, who you may know and you may not know. He's kind of a brilliant kind of actor, autodidact, bit of a maniac. And anyway, I was one of these characters in the play, and he's quite an unpleasant guy, and I quite enjoyed that. And then at the end there was this forum, and then one of the actors was like, well, it looked like you didn't like him, and that's not good. It's not good.
Correct.
And that was a lesson learned. And then there's a thing about you've got to... we talk about the responsibility of this show and the thing that we were involved in. I like to think of myself as somebody who's like, I work in between somebody saying action and cut. And that's what the job is. But that wasn't like that on this show. You took the show to bed with you. As soon as the scene was done, you were talking about what was going to be happening next, where you were heading, how it affected other people. We would meet each other practically every night. How our spouses, husbands, wives cope with, they just have to go in another room, like, are you still talking about the show? Still, it's like, but it's been 3 weeks, non-stop. Can we talk about what we're going to do? It was totally immersive. And there were things, I'm sure for all of us, I know for all of us, where really it hit us as people, not just as actors. There were the amount of times Trisha and I would have a chat, or we'd be like kind of mournful after a scene because of the things that we've been going through. And then there's huge things about how you want your character to be. And sometimes there's things that are written which you're like, God almighty, have I really got to do that? Or are you really going to make me do that? And I do remember saying to Ron David certain things, if you make me do this, then it's not going to just make me unhappy now, I'm going to be unhappy forever. And I mean it. I mean it. If you make Baltar do this or that, the other, then I have lost any sympathy, and I don't want to be in. And what was amazing was to be listened to. They would go, okay, well then it can work out like this. And I think again, like all of us, one of the things I wanted to bring, or what I saw was just, I want to try and be as real as possible in a situation like that. What are the real things that people do? And I do remember one of our first scenes on the Colonial, I don't know if it was Colonial 1. Was Colonial 1?
I didn't get off Colonial 1 for the first season.
Okay, so I was visiting...
I was put in jail just to get me over to the Battlestar.
Anyway, we had an altercation, and it's about the doctor and the ship that they've got to blow up. I think it's in the pilot, and I leant over the desk and I slapped it, and I saw you jump. And I was like, this is perfect. And then Ryder came up and went, don't slap the table, Mary jumps. And I looked at her and went, well, she should jump. If somebody's like a maniac in front of you, then the natural... And it was little moments like that where we react off each other, where you're like, God, that's actually really... It doesn't feel staged.
Right.
That's all I gotta say.
You know what? I remember that very well. And I remember also that we had a conversation where I was having trouble with my contact lenses. And it was just ridiculous. And so I was trying to do, we hadn't figured out my glasses yet, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't see the actors' faces. And I said, James, he said, yeah, are you all right, Mary? And I said, I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little kind of odd, I can't really see. I can't see anyone's faces. And he goes, well, you know, sometimes it's better that way, isn't it? And I love this guy. He's just using every opportunity he can to make it alive and fun. And you know what? You did do that, James. You're absolutely right. You made him...
It was quite incredible working with Mary.
Oh, well, you did. Anyway, thank you. Trisha. Yeah. So, Trisha, you came onto the show. You went from, I think I read this, I'm going to quote it. She went from superstar model to superstar television actress in a minute. And I thought, well, I know Trisha wouldn't see it that way, but there was a level of amazement in the fans and the people working with you because you came from a different world and were given this gigantic task. 6 was gigantic, and then there were the 12 other women you played, but we don't have time for those today, but when and now you've worked, you know, for the past 15 years pretty steadily, and I just wonder, is there anything you now are very clear about that you wish you'd known about my mom when you put on that red dress?
Maybe, I think, where it was going to go. I did have the script before I auditioned for it. I got it before Christmas and had it home for the holidays. And then I auditioned right when I got back, and then it took 2 months until they brought me back. But I had literally just started acting, and I didn't have a lot of acting experience in terms of classes or anything, because I was modeling and I did night classes. But I came in feeling very green. I remember when I got the test deal, and I was told I had to do a work session the night before. I was like, I didn't know what a work session was. I had to ask. Yeah. But I think looking back, I would try to go in a little bit more self-confident, because because I didn't know what I was doing. But it was such a welcoming group of people that I really felt supported, like from the get-go, from you and Eddie and James, obviously, who I worked with all the time. I couldn't have asked for a better scene partner, because, as you said, he brings such an intelligence and an energy and to it that I'd sit there sometimes, like, everybody has said that we would have all these discussions. If you remember, I probably wasn't really involved in those too much to begin with, because I was more just like, and then, so I slowly started to learn how to speak up, I had learned in class about backstory and all that type of thing, but I was really confused about 6 in the beginning. I didn't really know what she was.
Who did?
And the Cylons, I remember Ron gave us all a series Bible, and everybody, all the lead characters at that point in the miniseries had 2 or 3 page backstories from Ron Moore, and mine was Machine as Woman. Oh, shit. And I remember asking him, and I said, I'm the most inexperienced here. You didn't give me anything. I mean, I've made my own backstory, but, and he goes, I haven't decided everything about the Cylons yet. So I couldn't write more for you. But no, I think just trying, but I learned, I think maybe that was good in effect, and instead of trying to go in and be above my britches, or if that's the right term, the expression, is be a sponge. And
Are you still a sponge when you work?
I am still a sponge.
That's great.
I definitely have, will speak up more, and it's actually gotten me in trouble a couple times. I got fired once.
We like trouble.
Because I called out the lead actor for being under the influence in an extreme way. He actually went to rehab. I got fired, but they canceled the production, and they sent him to rehab. But
okay, now wait a minute. So you called out an actor for coming to work, and then you got fired, but he went to rehab.
But they canceled the episode. They never shot it. They sent him to rehab for a month, and then picked up the show later.
And do you think?
And I'm not sad that I did that.
No, you helped save the guy. And also, that's amazing. Let's think about that. Could you have done that?
I wouldn't have.
You would never have done that.
I would never have
So
done
there's
that.
a really beautiful example of what you now know. We all have to go through those moments on a set where we want to speak up. We know there will be consequences. We have to evaluate what those consequences might be. And sometimes those thoughts are coming through you so quickly. And more times than not, speaking up has a better result. But, we could do a whole thing right now about how we all feel about what's going on in the industry. But we can't. But speaking out, that's cool. I think looking back and knowing that you now can speak out as an actress. Do men feel that, Michael? Have you ever had a moment where you felt like, I have to speak out about something that's going on this set, and you feel sort of responsible for either someone's life or the truth of something or some injustice? Have you ever confronted that, or?
I've been doing this for so long, I would have to think about that for a while.
Oh,
Yeah, I've certainly witnessed an awful lot of things, but there's no point bringing it up now because it was so long ago, so inconsequential. It's not. I'm glad what is going on now is going on. There's no question there, but I have nothing to contribute here that would be of any value to take this time up, for sure.
No,
Thanks for asking.
I totally hear you, Michael, and I think that I'm curious, though. I'm really curious about, we're hearing about women, Me Too time's up, but there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in the world. There's all kinds of abuse and people being taken advantage of. And I just wonder, do any of you actors think about that you're in a different place than the women are? Or do you just feel part of the human race and you're in support? I'm not asking you guys personally, did you go to, I just say, like, how do you see it? We'll just take a second on this. Then we'll open up for some questions. Anyone? They really like this one. I'm going to get creamed. The minute we walk off the stage, I can feel it come over.
No comment.
That's so great. What do you think?
Look, we all know there's you know, the atmosphere in our industry. There's a political order. There is a certain gender politic that is omnipresent, and it has been for years. And I think in any industry, but our industry more than anything is so fear-driven. There's so much fear in our motivation, and that's a terrible thing, but we audition for roles and we depend on somebody else's opinion to get us work, and then when we do get the work, we depend on another person's opinion, whether it's good or not, and then if you say something to somebody that we perceive as being in a position of power, they can take your power away, so you don't want to say anything, but then somebody does something that's questionable, but I don't want to say anything. If you say something, then I'm the one that blew the whistle, and that fear that just permeates our industry is coming to a head now, obviously, where people are taking a stand against certain behaviors, and people, these huge figures in the industry that have been, you know, tent poles of power for so many decades are now tumbling. And I think, for men and women, and I just think it's been, you know, a much more difficult road for women. I can only speak from my personal experience that, you know, I don't face the same things that I think that a lot of actresses have to go through on sets and in the audition process. But we're trying to eradicate the fear, I think, I hope. That I try to look at these situations and these people that we work for, quote unquote, they're just people. And this comes with age. I remember when I started auditioning and you would meet the producers or you would meet the network or the studio, and they were always these guys in their 40s and 50s, and I'm like, I'm in my 40s now. And now I meet producers that are in their 20s.
Who are these children?
And I was like, was it Bring a Kid to Work Day? And I was like, oh, you wrote the show. Oh, nice to meet you. Is your dad here?
You know that you walk in and they say, have a seat, ma'am.
Exactly, I'm a good sir. And so you just start, you take the air out of it, and we all just have a job. We just all have a place in this business, and we gotta stop putting all this, again, I'm using that word import, and how important this person is, and how powerful this person is. We're all just cogs in a wheel that we're trying to make some sort of art. And whether it's the person whose job is to drill down this floor with tech screws and paint it, or it's to stand here and deliver a monologue, we're all working towards the same goal. And that sounds really pie-in-the-sky utopian, but...
No, it isn't. I think when you talk about eradicating the fear, I really respond to that, because it feels to me that part of why women, young women particularly, why we get into those situations is the bottom line is what we are trading on. We are trading. Our product is our body, is our face, is our hair, is our emotions, is our charisma. Hopefully we have some to trade with. How do you distinguish what's happening in a room when you're trying to sell the very essence of you to people that you've never met before who have a whole lot of power, right? You know, and so when you say, I think we're committed in Hollywood, and I think we are, and in the world, to eradicating fear in our industry, it could be a wonderful thing to see. A blossoming. And again, I say, Battlestar Galactica needs to be on the air because there was not a gender problem. Hello. And it would be very liberating for men and women, young men and women, to see in light of all this. I think we're going to go to some questions. So say we all. So say we all. So say we all.
So first of all, I want to say thank you very much. What you're saying with a lot of the women in the gender neutral roles, I'm actually a young officer in the Navy right now, and you're showing that you have your service. Thank you. What you guys talk about, the gender specific, or excuse me, like gender neutral, where women and men are treated as equals, that's obviously an issue that we've been experiencing in the military a lot right now with a lot of the things things that are going on. But the question that I wanted to bring up was, how did you guys get into the role of just being people, right? People in the military, it's often in a lot of TV shows, they are the pilot, and that's like their job. But you guys went beyond that, and you created individuals that existed. And I thought you guys did a great job with the characters, you know, showing that they're more than just the XO or the pilot. So how did you guys tap in to be not only your role, but also the individual behind it?
You know, I keep thinking as people are talking about this, and this is the military. I played a lot of military men. I'm from Canada, so there's no, I never really was involved in the military, but certainly cadets at high school. And I grew up with great respect for the military. Michael Reimer, it took all the time in the world while he was filming this. And as an actor, I'd never experienced, I did an awful lot of theater, and in theater, we rehearsed for at least 3 weeks, every day. We go over the same thing and the same thing. And then you have dress rehearsals, and then you have previews, and there used to be just dress rehearsal and then opening. But then they started having a preview, and then it turned out to be a week of previews, and now there's months of previews. So when the curtain went up and when you open now, you're ready, you've been through it so much. And so you're confident, and you just can't wait to be alive when that curtain goes up. Now, you never, ever, ever get that in film or television. Sometimes you will do a film that's got a budget, you'll have someone that you can work with. The first time I ever experienced anything of that was like here on Battlestar Galactica, where all of the meetings, where everybody was asked questions and listened to. And Reimer, on set, we wouldn't go into the set, into the location and say, CIC or whatever, and block. We'd go in and talk. Reimer would talk. He'd ask you all, what are you saying, what are you thinking, etc. And are you kidding me? Well, here, okay. And we did it, and he would stop and go over it until everybody was absolutely comfortable. And that's why everybody was so deep into their characters, and so that's why it is so full. Reimer is, of course, Moore, and Reimer is one who made it so comfortable and had all the time in the world for you. After a while, the crew, we had the same shooter, the same crew, basically, for all of the years we worked, so we were like a team. People couldn't wait to get to set that day, and you would go, there was a lot of handheld stuff, as you know, and we'd be doing these long handheld shots down a hallway, and I could go to the guy who's operating, I can look away from camera and say, did you get that, Timmy, or should I do it again? And he said, I'll keep going, Huggy. We were a team. And Reimer, the crew would say, we're being Reimered again this episode, man, because they worked a long time, but loved it. I could go on and on and on, but I think that's for me.
First off, thank you all for coming to the Gulf Coast. Process question. Part of Battlestar Galactica for me was the music of Bear McCreary. And especially the final for his version of All Along the Watchtower. At what point in the series did you guys get to hear some of that music, and did it affect how you did your characters?
Can I just jump in here? Mary, you can probably help me here. When we were at these wonderful meetings, the first one I think it was, Edward James almost had a CD in his hand, and we played it. Like, this guy's got a CD, you played it? That was the chant. What was that?
I don't remember.
It's the Gayatri mantra.
Yes. He brought us into his trailer. Maybe at a couple of meetings, but he brought us into his
mantra.
Yeah, Eddie brought us all into his trailer and said, listen to this drum, this drum beat. This is what I want. And that was prior to even filming a scene.
No, it wasn't Bear's music, but you're right, you're all right. And then Eddie brought that, he drove Ron a little bonkers with it. But Eddie was insistent that it was right, and then Bear agreed. And then it was Bear's beautiful wife, Rhea, who sings it. That gorgeous voice is Rhea, and she is an outstanding singer and performer. So that's how that all started. It really came from Eddie had heard this.
I actually think it was from Loretta. Yeah, I think it was Loretta who was listening to this rather musical.
Loretta is Michael Reimer's wife.
Yeah, sorry. Loretta is Michael Reimer's wife. She was listening to the Gayatri Mantra, they're together, and then she was like, what do you think of this? And they all kind of loved. I think actually it was another thing. The music at the beginning is kind of so different to what the show, you might think the show is going to be, in the sense of, I'm not going to sing it, but like, I'm not. But what I mean is Battlestar Galactica and the ships and the guns and the thing. Suddenly there's this kind of mellifluous voice, and you're starting out on a different energy. There's something more mystical and not necessarily militaristic.
But if you're also talking about his compositions throughout for every episode, we didn't have any access to that until we saw the episode air. Yeah. It wouldn't be in, maybe there'd be touches of it if you had to do ADR, you're going to re-record your voice, maybe there'd be touches, or in like a first cut, but you wouldn't see the final composition until...
But we did know that it was going to be all along the Watchtower, remember? That was in the script. We did know that was going to be... Yes, please do. It drove you crazy.
It was, you know, when the people asked, did you know you're going to be a Cylon? I said, no, I didn't, and I'll jump to that. We can forget that, but at one point, you know, Eddie said, ooh, you're hearing the music. What are you talking about? And I told that I was... So, you know, I'm lucky because I was old and I'm so old that I remember when Bob Dylan first came on the scene. And I listened.
Me too.
And I listened, and when this All Along the Watchtower and the stuff with and then Jimi Hendrix version of All Along the Watchtower came out. And I would say into the band, I'd say to the kids, crank this up. Crank it. When I die, I want you to play this song. And that's awesome. So it was an amazing experience. We're all going nuts up here. Then you hear the music on the radio. And then I'm reading in the script, there must be some kind of way out of here. Well, it's Bob Dylan. And then I think can't be that. And then said the Joker to the Thief is another one of the lines. And I said, well, you know, it's probably a guide track because they're not going to get the rights to Dylan's. And I never dreamed that they'd get the Hendrix All Along the Watchtower. And Bear McCreary, All Along the Watchtower. It is just unbelievable. What a gift to Michael Holden, who's playing Colonel Ty, to have that as the song that I have to deal with. When someone turned down that fucking music.
I have my brother who's 12 years younger than I am, and I just got him into there. He's been marathoning it straight in college. So yes, we are pushing this to the younger generation. Definitely. But my question for you guys is, as you were saying, you take this home with you, and there's just this strife and suffering. How do you keep that from just permeating your soul? And like, how do you keep the levity outside or out of the scenes without it just consuming you?
Drink. Can I do a funny story to that? I have a funny story to that, where when James said you take it home, you take it to bed with you. This isn't a serious one, but I was sleeping, and I remember I was dreaming, and I sat straight up in bed, screaming bloody murder. And the cats go flying, and my husband says something, what's going on? Are you okay? And I start laughing. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I was doing a scene, and Michael Reimer told me to run toward the camera screaming.
was truly experienced to be able to shake it. Sometimes I do those emotional scenes and I knew that I could go to the place, but then when I'd finish the scene, I'd be walking around for a funk. Like, I just shot my wife last night and I'd be walking around for 3-4 days afterwards like it really happened. And then someone mentioning, like, are you okay? Like, what's people in public, are you okay? What's going on? Did something happen? I'm like, you know, I shot my wife yesterday. So. She's gonna get the baby though. She's gonna download into another. Don't worry about it.
I was running through the airport with my son, and we were at O'Hare, and we were changing planes, and we were really running because we were going to miss the plane. And I could see up ahead, there were 4 guys standing there, and I could see, oh no, they recognized me. What am I going to do? Let's keep going. And all of a sudden they lined up, and as Michael and I were walking by them, they went like this. So I'm there with my 12-year-old, and I see them do that, and I just go, gentlemen. Michael, now meanwhile we're about to miss the plane. Michael says, Mom, stop. Stop. I said, Mike, we gotta get stop. Mom, you are not her.
Ladies and gentlemen, this may be the last question. We'll see how quickly this goes.
In the show, you play spies, military personnel, politicians. After the show or before the show, do you guys get any critiques or any input from actual real-life people in these industries?
Yes, we do.
I didn't talk to any robots.
I would have thought you'd be talking to your phone every day, right?
Yes. You're not Siri? Siri loved it. Siri loved it. We do. We got a tremendous amount of feedback from the military. Recently, I'll just tell this story because I think it's so cool. This lady is someone you probably all know because she lives in Atlanta, and she just recently made a run for the governor of Atlanta, Stacey Abrams. Right? Well, a couple weeks ago, Stacey Abrams was tweeting her, how would you call it, pop culture bucket list. And one of the things she said she wanted to do was sit down and have a confab with President Laura Roslin. You kind of go, these people are really watching. They are really watching. And we found that out more and more as time went on. We all know that some of us went to the UN because the United Nations was particularly impressed with the way that we mirrored some of their work in the world. And so we had that experience of direct connection, I think, a lot.
Yeah, we had an astronaut visit us on set. We're a big deal at NASA.
So, can we do one more question?
Or we're going to go right here.
Great.
I've never seen a sci-fi show with so much religion in it, and you guys obviously got so deeply involved in your characters. What does it take to do that part? Like, how much do you really embrace the religious belief part of it?
It always sounds better in British. Go ahead.
I think it's a really good question. I hadn't actually thought about that at all in the sense of the nature of our show and what an enormous, I mean, if the military is one huge thing, politics is another thing, religion is massive in Battlestar. Luckily, Gaius is totally irreligious. So it didn't really bother me at all, just personally. And the whole thing of like Gaius's cult, whatever, was like, Gaius is crazy, but guess what? There are people crazier than Gaius. So they love him. So they're touched. And I think that, I have spoken about this before, it was terribly important to Ron. And Ron and I had several discussions, we discussed this on the podcast last week. we were speaking about the Lord's Prayer. And there's a bit in the Lord's Prayer, forgive me my trespasses. And we both looked at each other, and can you imagine, like, you say that for real? What have you done that you need to be absolved by a spirit or an entity? I was like, I think that's almost where we kind of both found the character of Gaius Baltar. It was really, so he wanted, the whole show is really spiritual. And his whole thing was trying to get Gaius Baltar, a man of science, to a place where he had faith. So that was one journey.
It's awesome. Before we say goodbye, should they shoot us and we shoot them? Yeah. Okay, before we go, we're going to stand here with our cell phones and we're going to shoot all of you singing with us happy birthday to Adama. Okay, that's why he's not with us. He had to stay home and be with his other family. Okay, hold on.
So should we do like after 3, and I suppose it could be to... I don't really know. Thank you. After 3, happy birthday, and you can say either, to the Admiral or Teddy, and I suppose we'll finish it off with So Say We All, because you like that. One, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Admiral. Happy birthday to you. So say we all. Thank you so much, guys.
We're all saying, hi guys, happy birthday, we missed you. Hi. Woo! We are all saying that we can't wait to come back here. So keep telling those millennials and keep bringing your kids, and we'll keep doing Battlestar. We love you. Thank you.